Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in again week after week. We're so happy to see you. So happy that we have some subscribers now. Even if it's just close friends and family, we're happy to have you. And we're back with another episode. This is Big Thoughts Small Business Podcast. And we've got our guest of the hour. It is Libby Kavalakis. Everybody say, hey, Libby.
Hey, Libby.
Oh, hey. Oh, wow. I just got really just aged myself. The kids aren't doing that today. But jumping right into our podcast today, we're going to be talking about AI and all kind of facets as it relates to small business. So I've had some experience with AI. I use ChatGPT quite frequently. Libby, she's had some experiences with AI. But today we're going to kind of hone in on why AI is a small business's friend. And, we're also going to talk about pros and cons. It's not all, sunshine and roses, of course. And there are some really important things that you could probably talk about as well when it comes to protecting your ideas and stuff. But Libby, why don't you kick us off? What's your favorite thing about AI with your small business?
It gives me ideas. When I'm stuck, I go right in there, type in some keywords, type in
Hmm.
some questions, or give me ideas about a blog. Give me small business topics today. And I
Hmm.
can just jump off that platform pretty easily.
Yes. And it cuts
Yeah,
down that time between idea and first draft, I would say. You might I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody, but there are people that are like, I use it for everything and I just kick it out. But me, I feel like there's a little bit of editing and a little more specifics that you need to add to it so it's not very general, wouldn't you say?
definitely. Yeah, that's just it. If you use it as a tool and not a crutch,
Yeah.
it gets you where you need to go. And it's quite interesting because if you put something in there and it spits out a bunch of text,
Hmm.
it doesn't have your voice on it. It
No.
doesn't sound like you wrote it.
Yeah.
You can program it, and if you put enough things in,
Hmm.
it will start to write like you and
Hmm.
sound like you.
Hmm.
But I think just having the ability to have a first draft or have some framework or some topics or headings, whatever it may be, is such a wonderful use of it for right now.
I agree. And since you're in consulting, I feel like I mean, I get it. The clickbait, the hey, read my email amongst all the other emails in your, inbox. There's this position that AI is going to take, consulting jobs. It's going to take, there's so many jobs that they like to say, hey, this is bad for our industry. But how would you say that, as a consultant, like, no, it's not going nowhere?
The reason I'm not afraid of an AI taking my job, I guess, is because I mean, so is it going to wipe out consultants? Absolutely not. Because a lot of the consultant is brain cells and rational thinking and critical thinking.
Yeah.
And those are skills that still aren't there yet.
Hmm.
Eventually, maybe in our lifetime, maybe faster, I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, AI will be able to have that critical thinking, but right now it's pulling from so many different sources. That's why
Hmm.
there's issues with quality control
Yeah.
and there's issues with fact checking and just making sure what's in there is real.
Yeah.
Not so. And a good consultant, you have your sources, you've checked your sources, you've done the analysis, you've crunched the numbers, whatever it may be,
Hmm.
and you're drawing from experience, you're researching and pulling real data that you have validated, and that's the value you're bringing, pulling that all together and coming up with the next step, pulling it all together, coming forth with recommendations.
Hmm. Yeah, I
And that's
agree.
very specific. That's client specific. It's not generic.
No. And I feel like when I got my hands on ChatGPT, my friend told me about it and she's like, "Oh, you got to try it." And it's funny cuz the way she described it, that's not how I use it at all. And she was like, "Oh, it's really great. You can it can write your emails, it can do this or that." And I was like, I'll check it out. It's the new hot thing. I want to, always kind of be in the know when it comes to technology because it happens so quickly. It
Yeah.
seems like by the time it gets out to the public, it's like had 4 iterations and stuff like that. So when I got on it, I was, puttering around. I think the first couple of things I asked it was, like hashtags. We're trying to do social media and content marketing, and those hashtags and keywords are the keys to your audience essentially. So I would ask you stuff like, what's a good hashtag for this industry? And it would give it to me. I was like, oh, that's pretty simple. And then I said, okay, well, can you write a comment for a picture that looks like this? Didn't show it the picture, but I described it, and it wrote a comment. Then it wrote a description. And I said, well, what else can it do? And, I'm totally enthralled in the whole analysis paralysis. Like, I'll just deep dive and, I'll have conversations with it. One of the craziest things I asked it was, I don't know if you saw this movie, but it's called Her with Joaquin Phoenix.
I didn't see it. I heard of it though.
So, okay, so you're in the realm. So essentially, it was like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like a chat bot, right? But
Yeah.
it was audio. So he could talk to it, it would respond. It was kind of like Alexa, okay, where it was this component, you talk to it, it would answer back similarly to how ChatGPT. And I remember, I don't know why I got into this conversation with this chat box, but I was like, hey, are you familiar with the movie Her? And and ChatGPT answered like, yes, I am familiar with that. I'm familiar with Joaquin Phoenix. It gave me the date it came out. I said, okay, do you think you're like her, or would you describe yourself differently than her? And it gave me this whole paragraph about, well, her was more of a sentient model generator where she was pulling from a lot of different sources. I only pull from before 2021, and even though I have speech recognition, I can read what you're saying, I and basically accumulating answers for you, where she was applying logic and philosophical thoughts to it. And I was like, oh, really? Why would you describe yourself like that? Like, I just went in. And they have different, chat models where it's more conversational. Some people were talking about, during the pandemic, they didn't have a lot of people to talk to, or, they're facing depression and different things like that, where they're applying kind of their needs to what they and how they use ChatGPT. And like I said, my chats are all over the place. Some of them are really philosophical. Others are, I'm just trying to catch it up. Like, hey, are you sentient? I'm just asking questions and just seeing what it regurgitates out. But the main thing I like to use ChatGPT for is, I've always felt like growing up where I grew up, having the background that I have, and, like so many other people, you just aren't exposed to certain ideas and certain thoughts. And I would have these journals where I'd write down an idea. I have ideas about apps, widgets, all kinds of different software applications. Like, well, if I could build it, I'm gonna use this idea. And then it's on the back burner because, that's not necessarily my space. So once ChatGPT came along, I started going into, okay, here's the idea I had for my business. Hey, ChatGPT, how do I go about developing it? I don't specifically ask it, this is my idea verbatim, all the intellectual property that I have. I more so generalize it. So how would you say small businesses can benefit without kind of exposing themselves or, putting too much information in there?
Again, it's if you're going to use it as an absolute,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to set yourself up to fail.
Yeah.
So you have to use it as part of your process, however comfortable you are moving it forward, or where you were having full conversations and like
Getting to
big
know
time
it.
conversations. Like, I'm kind of worried
What
about
does
you.
life mean to you? I want to know how it's thinking. Like, if you're going to be giving me information, where are you coming from?
Exactly. The important stuff.
Important stuff. That's right.
But if you're going to use it, as another step in your process with a small business overlay on top of it,
Mhm.
then you can really maximize your productivity. It could do initial research for you. You
Oh,
could
yeah.
use it to, like, I wrote press releases with it.
Yes. That's
And
amazing.
you were talking about automated emails and everything. We're both on Groove,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
right?
Groove.
That's
Shouts
right.
out to Groove. Links in the description. Click on
Um,
it.
but yeah, but I did that because as a coach, I want to be sending out emails,
Yeah.
and so some of the wording of that and punching up like I have a tone that I write, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I need to punch it up a little bit or tone
Mm-hmm.
it down. So it will rewrite for you.
Yeah.
If my words 100%, but it's like having a free editor, or
Yes.
you can create images,
Yes.
So it's almost like having your own marketing firm or your own artist or your own
Assistant.
yeah, in place. So I think
Yeah.
small businesses really can take it and figure out what part of their process or what do they want to be doing that they don't have time to do or don't know how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
Throw it
big
out
part.
to ChatGPT
Oh, yeah.
and see what comes back out again and then work from there.
Yes. And it's gotten to the point where a lot of other chat based programs and generators are based off of ChatGPT. Do you have any other AI platforms that you use outside of ChatGPT?
Bard,
Bard? What's Bard?
Bard. I think
Ooh.
that's a Google one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of that one. The
Yeah.
Google Labs one, Bard. And what made you use Bard over continuing to use ChatGPT?
Much like you, I just had curiosity. Why not? They're
Jump
all
in.
free. So if they're
Exactly.
free, I'm playing with them.
Hmm.
And if I see it somewhere or if someone says, hey, have you tried this? As long as it's safe, it's from
Yeah.
trusted providers, let's say.
Yeah.
Um, I'll give it a shot to see which one I'm most comfortable with or if you get different outcomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep going back to ChatGPT mainly because of the amount of information you can put in at once and then amount of information that it'll give you back. I remember one day I was asking it to write, 24 things for me. I specifically said, "Hey, generate with 24 bullet points." And it gave me like 12. And I said, "Continue." And it just flew off the handle. And I was like, whoa, I've never done that before. So every time I ask it something now, I'm like, how much more can we get out of you? And it was like, continue. And I got tired of it. I got all the way up to like 300 on
Oh
one
my
of the prompts.
gosh.
Oh, yeah. And there are times when they say it's hallucinating, like it'll just kind of regurgitate it in a different way. So you have to, be mindful of that. But I love just the exploration of information that I can do in such a small space. I can pull it up on my phone in a browser. Like I'll be watching Shark Tank. This plays right in. So I'm watching Shark Tank, and what I love about watching Shark Tank as a small business is you get to hear so many different kind of business models and strategies. A lot of people watch it and they're like, "Oh, I hope they get the investment. Oh, they were crazy not to invest in Ring." And I always look at it as, even though it's a TV show, that's first and
Yeah.
foremost. It is a TV show. They're there to entertain. And yes, they are putting up their personal money. And yes, they're investing in companies with like a set rubric. But at the end of the day, they have things that they invest in, hands down, every time. That's what makes them strong investors, is they have a portfolio that looks like this. Mr. Wonderful likes food, weddings, beverage, tech, and education, and usually toys. That's his background. He grew up, his parents had a toy store.
Okay.
And I like Mr. Wonderful. He gets a rough go at it on the show, but he seems very disciplined in what he invests in. And other sharks, they like to invest in tech, or anything that has to do with retail or patents. Everybody gets really excited when they talk about patents, but I think every small business should watch Shark Tank because there's so many different ways to kind of structure how to serve your customer best. And I feel like
Yes.
in business, they tell you, especially in a lot of small business development programs, they say, "Hey, you should have a business plan. You should have a growth plan." But when I watched Shark Tank, I was watching one episode and she said, "Yeah, our business model is it's a marketing strategy tied in with, a donation kind of mechanism." And I was like, how do they make money? And they go on with their pitch and they talk about it. And I pulled up my phone, I pulled out ChatGPT. I said, "Could you tell me all the different business models?" And it just kept going. I said, okay, so, there's the ones we know about: B2B, B2C, B to customer, B to government. And then they start going into, these tech and these, different restaurant kind of structures. And I don't have my list with me in front of me, but I just started going down this rabbit hole. I said, okay, well, if there's business models, what about revenue models? Oh, okay, what about financial models? And if you took each of those lists, and you know how we used to play board games back in the day, you had a dice basically. You said, okay, I'm gonna roll the dice, and whatever business model that lands on, that's what we're gonna do. And we're gonna pair it with this revenue model, and that's what we're gonna do. And then from that revenue model, we're gonna pair it with this financial model. And I'm sure you could go down the list of all the different things that go into a business plan and establish a model for it and really create a business from linking together different strategies of how to do it. Because a business model has a certain way that it operates. It says this is how your business is going to go. Yeah. A revenue model is like, well, this is how you're going to make money. So your business might be in, shoes. You might make tennis shoes, but your revenue model isn't, I'm selling tennis shoes out of this store. It's, hey, we're located online on a platform, and we do a lot of influencer marketing. So we're marketing directly to social media, and that has a whole structure and a vibe of how that happens. I forgot I was recording. JC, you want to keep watching TV out there, and then after I'm recording, we can get you started, because you can't keep coming in and out.
Go ahead.
See you later, buddy. He just walked through the door.
I saw him walking in. It was funny.
Having a good time. He's happy because he doesn't get to start his schoolwork right away, so it's cool.
It's a bonus.
Bonus, right? So I just went down the rabbit hole, and I remember there was a Shark Tank episode that sticks out in my head quite particularly. It was this girl, young girl. She had a clothing business, and we can give her some credit. We'll put her name up or whatever. But essentially, she's what I call an e-commerce kid. We talked about it before. There's people that have this revenue model. It's all based on, e-commerce. And essentially, she's perfected her selling model, which is she makes sweat clothes or sweatshirts and sweatpants, whole outfits where she writes, inspirational things on the sleeve.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's just a little bit of embroidery. Like if you were to just look at it, basically it's pastel sweat outfits, sweatshirts, sweatpants, socks, headbands, stickers, but it's about mental health and mental awareness. So she said she writes, be kind to yourself, or, it's okay to feel how you feel, just little things on the sleeve or down here, like just placed in different places. And she basically sets her own demand. So she'll do lives, she'll do she'll get on Instagram, she'll get on TikTok, and she'll talk about, hey, we have this new line coming up. I only have about 400 items, and here's what it looks like. If you're interested, DM me. And people place orders before she has the product. So she's not creating inventory, then trying to sell it. She is creating the demand for the inventory, and then she sells out. Yeah. And it's a complete overhaul of how traditional retail works. Retail is, I have this store, I built this name over time, and people come and they know, and I'm trying to sell this season's outfits that I just made up, and I hope that people like it. Or, from the market research that I did, blue's going to be big this summer. So, it was completely the reversal. And she's making millions.
Right.
Not thousands, not 100,000. She's making millions. And small businesses like us go, oh wow, that sounds great. But she really didn't start, hey, I'm do the traditional retail, I'm gonna have all these shirts and then I'm gonna tell people. No, she creates this world around her product, and she invites people in. She does a lot of customer engagement, she does a lot of customer interactions. And I feel like that's where small businesses go, oh, that's I'm not doing all that, because they've already started with the horse before the cart. But she has a cart that has a horse, pushing it essentially, as opposed to pulling it. And we get so wrapped up in our head about, oh, this and this has to be right because that's the way it's always been done. But here she is, and she's on Shark Tank, and she's like, look, I would like an investment because I would like a shark attached and to give me some visibility and, accreditation in my field that, I'm a major player. And they were like, no. And it was so interesting because everyone's like, oh, that's an amazing business to invest in. And they were like, no, you don't need us. You're crushing it. You don't have huge inventory that's crushing you. And everybody else that, gets on Shark Tank, they're always hounding him about that inventory. Like, oh, how much do you have in inventory? Oh, I've got over 500,000 units. Oh, and they all grimace. And it's
Right.
like, they're getting crushed under holding so much inventory, where she's like, I can do a drop tomorrow and, I'm fulfilling my inventory needs. And it was interesting because I don't feel like traditional small businesses even see a different way of doing business, or they're so far on the track that they're on. It would be hard to just upend it, sell all the inventory, and then create that buzz that I feel like the Shopify kids and the younger generation, just the way they approach it is just so far out the box,
So, Aisha, this is where we can feel more than 20 years old. So
Grown.
she
We're grown.
combined kind of the home shopping network model.
Yep.
We have so many units to sell out,
Mm-hmm.
buy them, that we're not going to restock. This is
Yep.
buy them tonight, that's it. She has that going for her, then using just-in-time printing,
Mm-hmm.
because we all know we can go on many websites
Print on
and many
demand.
different places,
Mm-hmm.
put whatever we want there. And have it printed and sent to us in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she figured out a way to do that with her niche and her specialty, or whatever her passion is, these sayings.
Mm-hmm.
And with embroidery, it's a little bit different than just a print on.
Yeah.
But she really looked at what was out there, it seems,
Yeah.
and said, oh, this kind of works. She's probably, you know what? Here's the difference. She was probably bored one night, flipping channels, came
Yep.
on Home Shopping Network and said, they're selling out these crazy spiral brooms or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, whatever
Yeah.
product they have. I don't know what
Something
they
about
have.
Home Shopping Network, it just pulls you in. You're like, I need a spiral broom. Where is it? I need that. You're like, no.
No, I don't. I have 20
No, I
brooms I
don't.
don't use.
Yes. But I'm glad you said that, because again, with drop shipping, print on demand, these aren't new thoughts. These aren't new ideas at all. It's just how they're being applied today. There's so
Yeah.
many more advancements. There's technological advancements, there's software advancements. I think your barrier to entry with business seems to be a lot lower. I don't know for sure if it's lower. You still need to invest, you still need the licenses and stuff like that. But it's more in your face now. Like, hey, start a business, be an entrepreneur. I feel like it's new in the way they're applying it. They're applying it in so many different ways, and using sites like Amazon. Walmart has a really robust marketplace, and a lot of people aren't talking about it, but it's kind of up. I don't want to say it's up there with, but it's on par with Amazon and their reach, so to speak. And there's a couple
Yeah.
other marketplaces really, making a good jab of it. So there's so many more spaces to be a product seller and stuff like that.
Well, now you're not at all confined by hours of operation or geography, because
Yes.
you're online. So you're
Mm-hmm.
24/7 around the world,
Mm-hmm.
out into the universe.
Yes.
So your
And
buyer can be anywhere at any time.
that's what all small businesses are looking for in this climate. I'll be quite candid. I've been looking for that since, the advent of social media selling came about. I really always thought that was a great way to not just get your product out there, but to be seen. Oh, I
Yeah.
saw that on TikTok. Oh, now I'm seeing it on the news. Oh, wow, this is something that's really happening. It's getting some traction. It's just a better way for a small business to tell their side of the story. Because before, it seemed like there was media, and then there was your advertising that you put out, and you still had to go through, traditional news outlets and channels, and reserve a block of time. I'm really aging myself. Reserve a block of time, radio time. I was invited to iHeartRadio, just to speak, talk about, Black History Month and so forth. And just seeing that world as, somebody that is trying to get busy on social media, you go to their studio where they actually film, and they have the sign up like, oh, we're recording, don't come in. And it's really hush hush and serious. And you go in the recording room and they got great mics and they're like right in your face. And you're like, I'm trying to make eye contact. And it's like, no, we don't, it's radio. Nobody can see you. And I'm like, but I like talking and looking at people. So it's interesting because media is still there. Media
Yeah.
is still a significant opportunity for small businesses, but if you want to control your own narrative, social media seems so much more lucrative in that space.
And that's where I think we're in between.
Yeah.
I'll just use my mother,
Hmm.
who tapped out of computers and everything else after she learned
Hmm.
how to use Word and Excel and email 20
She
years
said, I'm
ago.
good.
She goes, I've had it. I'm not learning this.
It's good.
And then my nieces and nephews who are
Hmm.
in their early 20s now, who
Way different.
know I go to them for help, all the
Yeah.
time.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I'm somewhere in between those two. I think I'm dangerous with what I know, but I'm certainly not don't know enough, especially on the social media front. I got a good lesson the other day.
Hmm.
I'm working with a marketing person to
Hmm.
build my client base,
Hmm.
and we're doing a LinkedIn campaign and
Hmm.
an email campaign. And I learned on LinkedIn that if I do it on my phone, I can send video responses to InMail. And yeah, hold up the phone, talk in it like I'm talking to the person. Hey, Aisha, thanks for the message. I have time on Wednesday at 4 o'clock if you'd like to speak.
I didn't know about that.
I didn't know about that. Who would know? Well, a marketing person, someone who works in digital marketing would know that. So,
I gotta
yeah,
talk to
that's why
more
you never
people.
know where you're going to find technology. You're
No.
never going to know how technology can apply to you to make your life better. Because I'm not one to type on my phone.
No, I don't like it.
Too many typos. I
And
don't like
plus,
that.
no matter how big they make the phone, it's you still, in my eyesight,
Yeah.
I'm in my 30s now, so I'm doing this when I read stuff. And it's funny because that's where I realize, okay, technology is, it's getting a little away from me because I'm sitting there and they're like, oh, you write the caption and you make sure it's the same on everything and, it'll rank higher. And I'm like, okay, let me do it on my computer. And these apps, seriously, are made for the phone. I'll give you
Yeah.
an example. I my background, I have some background in PR and communications and marketing and so forth. But it was way back when it was different. So it doesn't even apply now. But I remember, just I want to get on the computer. I want to type. I want to read, the Baltimore Sun, the Washington Post, the New York Times. If you go on these websites on your computer, you get the, hey, get a subscription. You can read this. You go on your phone and it's like, yeah, sure, read it all day long. And I'm like, I wouldn't know that because I'm trying to do everything on my computer. And the same with the apps. It's like, I mean, you can post, you can do this, but you really want all the features, you got to edit it on your phone. I'm like, what if I didn't have a phone? Well, you'd be missing an entire universe
Yes.
of communication happening. And I feel like, I'm gonna keep aging myself, but I feel like there was a time where you just had a website. It was
Yeah.
cool. You have a website. Oh, that's cool. It shows you're a little more hip than the next person. But now it's like, okay, can I find your website? Is your website SEO ranked? Is it, running ads? Are you marketing? And you're like, working on it. But then we have ChatGPT and we have so many other, features. I'll give, you and the audience listening. Yeah, I know y'all are here. I can't see y'all, but I know you're here. But I'll give you guys a website to check out. It's called Future IO. Essentially, they are trying to compile all of the different AI websites and apps out there. And what's good is they already know you're looking for either a free AI generator or you're looking for, a paid service. They have it broken up also by genre. I mean, all the different AI kind of platforms that are out there, they are trying to compile it here on this website. And they do a good job of saying, hey, these are free. These have like a freemium where you get limited features up until a certain point before the paid plans start. These are paid. Like, don't even try to look for the free. It's like a free 2-day trial. Like, and they go. Like, there are some that like the AI what is it called? It's like a video generator where
Yeah.
you create an AI version of yourself or avatar. I found a really cute one for my son where you can animate a picture that they drew, and they show you how to put the markers on. So if it's a little stick person, they have a space for, okay, this is probably where your head is. These are some arms. And if they have more arms or more legs, you can add that. And they will AI generate it into a cartoon for you. And I was like, this is so cute, and the possibilities are like endless. They have like 3D architecture drawings that you could create, and just walk through spaces that you just created. They have room decorators. They have chat bots. They have, I like a lot of the scientific research ones where you put in a topic and it finds you articles that relate to that topic. So you can cite it in your work. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool, because one of the hangups with AI right now is, where'd you get that information? Is it, pulled or scraped from the internet, or, is it real information, or is it a hallucination? So I kind of like the spaces where I can possibly find, some real world touch points. Oh, this is from the EPA. Okay, good. I can go to the EPA website. It's going to say the same thing. Oh, this is from Red Cross. Okay, good. I haven't run into too much where it's just straight nonsense, of course, but one of the best pieces of advice I can give is just ask it something that 100% about, and see where it might, embellish, or see where it might go off the rails a little bit, and then just kind of take that with you on the rest of your, prompts or interactions.
Very much so. Check the work.
Yeah, there's gotta be some checks and balances in there, Otherwise, everybody would do it. But tell me, have you used any of the image generators?
No.
Okay. They got
I
some,
was, and it's kind of crazy. This weekend I was making icons we're relaunching our website.
right?
So I was playing around, because an artistic outlet for myself.
Ooh.
So I was playing around with different icons to put on the website.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have done it with an image generator, but
I don't know.
I was having fun.
Yeah, that's good. Canva's another one.
Oh,
They've
yeah.
implemented AI in their, excuse me, in their
Yes.
design space. So you can literally be working on something and say, okay, I'm looking for a cat riding a tricycle. I can't find it in any of the stock that they have. And you can punch in their generator. I need a cat with a tricycle. I don't know why, but you know,
What's crazy, that's where I was. I was working in Canva and
Canva.
I was creating those type of, when I couldn't find the image, I
Hmm.
would type in deep dive,
Oh,
or and I started getting very smart, stick figure deep dive, because I
stick
wanted a
figures.
certain look, a simple look. I didn't want
Okay.
full shapes. I wanted just very linear, very clean. And then I wanted them in a circle. So I
Okay.
was playing with the different colors, and
Mm.
yeah, so it was quite interesting. I didn't realize that was, see, okay, there you go. I used
Very.
AI without knowing it.
Yes, you did. And I think that's going to happen a lot more because it's so easily integrated into a lot of our spaces. If you think about it, we
Mm.
get on the internet, we press the button, we don't know how, but somehow we're on the next page. There's
Yeah.
all types of coding and integrations. And like I said, I'm thirsty when it comes to information. So there was one time I opened up Chat GPT, and it was like, oh, you can test out Dahlia, and you can test out this other, see how you can get Chat GPT on your website. And I was like, sure. And I clicked on it, and it showed me different chat bots I can create. And then after I created the code, I can implement it into the coding of my website.
Oh,
Now, I like playing around with technology, but when it comes to actually breaking technology, I steer I steer far away from that, because once you go into the HTML of your website, You
No.
put one dash or one dot somewhere where it's not supposed to be, and your site doesn't exist anymore. Like that's one of my biggest fears. I actually had my website hacked one time, and I felt bad because I didn't know it for a minute, and I was like, "Oh, I'm trying to log on. What's going on?" And they said, "Oh, your site's been hacked." I said, "Well, get it back. Like, what do you do?" And I think from their perspective, they thought that I wouldn't want to start over. I was like, you can start over. It's a basic website. Like a lot of websites that, usually get hacked, I'm imagining are, you got e-commerce tied into it. You got a lot of connecting integrations with other sites, and you have a lot of puzzle pieces that are, intertwined. I was like, no, it's the placeholder. Please just, get rid of the hack, and, I'll be on my way. It's like, oh, okay. And, that brings me to another question. With our new reliance on AI, how do you think small businesses can kind of reel it back? Like, hey, okay, yes, AI is a great tool, but what's the next part of that conversation? Where do you see AI's downfall with small businesses? Like, what are the cons?
Right now, it's probably over reliance. And like we talked about, you have to check the work and make sure that it's accurate for what you want to be putting out there.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's also getting lazy about things.
Yeah.
Part of where you build excellence is through repetition.
Yes.
And getting down into the weeds of something and really learning it so that you can just snap it out next time.
Yeah.
And I think, when you become so reliant on anything automated, it takes away some of your thinking, like what you were saying about your websites and everything. You probably learned some coding and some other things. Probably I don't want to know how to code.
No.
I'll put that out there. So I'm never going to spend any time doing that. But I need to know how to update things on the website. I'm not going to code it, but I will update images. I will add my blog. I will update whatever it may be, some text, without having to get into the hardcore stuff. So I think small businesses, again, the downside is also going to be becoming a cliche of a business.
Yeah.
If you're known to always just be the superficial top part of it and not have the critical thinking, and this is a whole other show, by the way, is critical thinking skills. That's Libby, frustration in the whole world.
Why'd you do that? I didn't think. There it is. You didn't think.
There was a term we used to use in Washington called empty suits. Do you ever hear that term?
No.
People who look good, they may sound good for the first 2 minutes, then you realize they read off like the back of, like they Googled the topic right before they came and learned the 3 things to say in a meeting. But if you ever ask them a question,
That's
they fold.
Whoa.
Empty suit.
It's funny. I've never, we have this whole, as women, we're like, look, we gotta be 10 times as good just to be in the room. Like, I've never been able to say, like, oh yeah, I've Googled 3 topics and now I'm going networking. Like, that is terrifying for me. Like, if I don't know, I usually go,
Yeah, keep your mouth shut and learn.
Yeah, I like asking a lot of, if y'all can't tell already, I'll ask you questions to death, okay? And that's the extent of my networking. And people are like, oh, she was so nice. No, I just asked a lot of questions. Oh, what did you do when that happened?
Talk about themselves.
Yeah.
That's why you're so interesting, because we all talk about ourselves.
That's right. We go, oh, so what'd you do then? That's why I talk to ChatGPT like that. What's your deal today, ChatGPT? And I even like telling it thank you, because it's like, oh, I'm glad you liked it. I'm like, yeah, I did.
Well, but going back to it, both you and I came up and succeeded in male-dominated industries.
Oh, yeah.
So that was part of us always being more prepared, because there were enough people in the room trying to bring us down.
Already. Yeah.
Or didn't think we belonged in the room. I remember going to meetings and being told I didn't belong in the meeting. I remember not being allowed in. When I was doing commercial real estate, I remember the first time I went out to a huge industrial complex, and someone said, you can't be here. I'm like, why? Well, you're a woman. You're not allowed here. I'm like, ooh, okay, you're wrong. But it was my job. I had to be there. I didn't have a choice. I mean, I had a choice. I could have walked away, but I belonged there more than he did. So
Yeah.
I did my job and left.
And see, I had one of those situations, but I think my problem and my superpower is I'm so optimistic. I was on a site and it was our site. We were managing the project. We were hiring the subs. It was actually pre-construction. We had the whole beginning half of this project, and I it was a subcontractor. I'm not going to get into the minutia of who, but he was on the site, and I walked in like around 11, and he looked at me and he said, "Oh, you're fired." I said, "Am I?" He said, "You're late." He's like, "I mean, really late." I said, "Yeah, it's my site though, so I can be late." I said, "How about you? What time did you get here?" And he was like, "Your site." I said, "Yeah, I'm Lifeline. I'm Lifeline." And he was like, and you just see the panic, and I was like, "It's cool." Like, it's just I didn't even catch the "you're not supposed to be here" or "you're late." I was like, I don't care who you think I am, but here I am gonna tell you, because nice to meet you. Hello, how's that going?
Ex-
And you kind of, some of them you're able to like laugh off. Others you're kind of like, look, we all got a job to do. Don't be the butthole about it. Like we can get into the minutia of it, but just come on, let's just get it done. And that's what I like about my industry. I specifically have site control. It's not just demo, because everybody and their cousin wants to tell you, "Oh, I would take that wall down like this." Yeah, but you hired me, okay? And this is how we're going to take down the wall. But
right.
specifically with like abatement, environmental abatement, we have full site control. So a lot of the, well, we're going to do it like that. Okay, well, the EPA is going to fine you. That's fine. I mean, you can take that up with and then everybody wants to act right. Yes, of course. So I look forward to moments like that when it comes to environmental, because it's just, yeah, we have the end say when we are on site. Other, industries and other, projects, there's so much, ah, grandstanding, whatever you want to call it. It's just, look, at the end of the day, I'm trying to get off the site. It's hazardous. We have a set time to be here. Let's get it done and let's go. And people appreciate that. But, they got to get their little things out, of course. So
And we're off topic again.
it's a snippet.
Well, yeah. No, it's a good snippet.
Good snippet.
Except when I'm touching my hair and face. So
It's
we have
cool.
to cut that out.
It's radio too, where it's a podcast. But yeah, AI, small business. But I will say the people that are going to be replaced by AI are, like you said, the surface. If you are constantly inserting yourself as a middle person, hey, I'll show you how to make 10 email sequences that'll get you leads. Okay, I can do that with ChatGPT now. You know what I mean? And you see it now. Like there are people who are selling, hey, I'm selling 1,000 prompts that you could use. And it's like, I can find those prompts as well. Like that's not not knocking anybody, of course, but that's not a service, for me. And if that's something that you would buy, then you don't know that you can do it on your own. And essentially that's what business is too. It's a lot of, I'm providing a convenience for you, but at what caliber or what level of convenience? Like I look at a coach like Libby and I say, okay, she's gonna shorten the time between A and B. A is where I'm at right now. B is me being a, 2 million a year contractor with the government. She has the criteria, she has the contacts, she has the strategy. That's what I'm paying Libby for, to get from A to B. There are other coaches that'll get you from A to A point C. You ain't getting a B, but you got a little further from A.
Right. But it depends what your journey is, like what you want to work on.
Yeah.
And you find the right coach, which is hopefully me, but it's not a fit for
It is
everybody.
Libby.
Yeah. Yeah. Put a plug in.
It's Libby. Call Libby.
And Aisha, the other thing on AI, just to bring up, just because it's topical right now,
Mm-hmm.
the writers and actors strikes,
Ooh,
because that's a big component of what they are fighting against,
really?
because the thought is that the studio owns their image, the actor's image, so that they can then use the image over and over again with no
Wow.
compensation back out. And then there's been approaches to the writers to replace screenwriters and script writers with AI.
That's not going to work.
Well, we
They can
don't know.
try.
They can try, and it'll be quite interesting. I've been following that strike pretty closely
Hmm.
because of those issues.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting because do we want you write something funny?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if you're watching a comedy, half that comedy is because someone actually lived that experience.
Yeah.
You, so how does your friend ChatGPT,
Mm.
like what are they pulling on to draw up the funniest parts of that experience?
Oh, see, that's the thing. And I think just like we have those kind of issues with what is it, procedural bias, when you have facial
Yes.
recognition softwares. I had a facial recognition software. I was trying to verify this account, and it was this advertising account. And the way they verify you is through facial recognition. Everybody knows it. Everybody's looking at this podcast right now. If you're listening to it, I'm a black woman. Okay. So it did not work. And for anybody listening that's going, oh, you just didn't do something right. I did it in low light. I did it in highlight. I did it in sunlight. I did it in every light I could. I took the makeup off. I put the makeup back on. I put the wig on. I put the wig off. Like anything I had to do, I did it.
Yeah.
Did not work. And then I said, okay, let me change the application. Let me try it with my husband, because maybe it's the makeup, maybe it's whatever. Let me try it with my husband. Husband's also a black man. Did not work. I've tried it with like 4 other people, black, did not work. And I was like, okay, this is an application, so I don't want to just keep interchanging
Right.
people. But when we talk about that kind of issue in coding and in technology already, that's, one of the same concerns that I have with AI. And they even said it, when you first signed up with ChatGPT, like, hey, sometimes I'm going to say some crazy stuff to you, just, take it with a grain of salt. So the fact that things like that are already issues in our tech world or in our lives, I would worry about, you know, TV shows, whole TV shows being written, from an AI perspective, because not that the AI is 100% coded, because after a certain amount of code, it's then allowed to generate. But that first amount of code, like how well did we do there? How culturally appropriate is it? And the thing that I also want to point out is culture has shifted several times within the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
You go on TikTok and social media and people are joking about it, but it's true. If you go back to the 2000s, some of the TV shows we used to watch, some of the jokes we used to make, they just don't fly. They don't fit, and they really stand out now. Like one of the more PC ones I can talk about is America's Next Top Model.
Oh yeah.
I watched it like when I was growing up. That was, oh yeah, I'm learning how to do a go see. I wasn't trying to be a model. It's just, they talked about street
Right.
smart and being, just all entertainment wise. But it was entertaining for me to watch. And they had different challenges where somebody said they were afraid of spiders. And they were like, well, here's a spider on your face. They were constantly pushing the envelope of, hey, this is good TV. How is she going to react? She's terrified of spiders. But, some of the more risky ones was the racial swap where the white contestants were made black and the black contestants were made white. And all of them were saying, like, looking back, they said, yeah, I didn't see a problem with it, but yeah, now.
Right.
So what does that lead to when you have it produced by AI? Will people just say, oh, it was AI, no one's at fault? Or will it be, oh, well, we have a gap here in what we think is appropriate and how it got through to coding or how it got on? Because we see it in different brands, like different designs that are coming out, and they're like, that's inappropriate. How did it not get to some level of checks and balances to say, hey, is this culturally appropriate? And stuff kind of still comes out. So I don't think that's a problem that's erased by AI. I don't think it's heightened by AI, but I think that would be one of the reoccurring issues that we have with entertainment.
Well, that's where it comes back to you have to have a person. You have to have someone who is looking at it for appropriateness right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that, that's anything that goes on TV or the movie theater or something is reviewed so much because it's expensive to make
Yeah.
and has high stakes to it. But
Yeah.
just the thought that, someone could take our images and go put us in something that we don't know about and that we only find out afterwards.
Or you'll never find out about. That's the really scary one.
Yeah.
It's protecting your IP. And this kind of circles it back to business is for small businesses, you are the intellectual property, until you start putting it in processes, until you start adding those systems to it. How much of your IP is taken already? Because I've talked to my lawyer about this. I said, yeah, I'm start doing YouTube and all the different things that go through your head when you're about to launch another service line or another business or opportunity. It always goes back to protection. If I'm just an influencer, I don't really have a brand or a business, that I've established. I'm just, my brand is me. And you hear about all those stories where influencers are like, oh yeah, I signed up for this and I got paid, $1,000. Meanwhile, the brand is just running with their likeness and image on everything they've been using for the last 6 years. And, people don't know to kind of put those stops in the contract. Oh, you're allowed to use my image for this amount of money for the next 3 months. If you want indefinitely, then we have to talk about that price. We have to arrange a retainer or something, So as a small business, have you gone that route yet? Have you licensed your image and likeness or even your intellectual property with your business?
Not yet. I had a lot of experience in licensing because remember
Mm.
I ran the Smokey Bear and Woodsy Owl
Oh,
licensing programs.
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah,
Smoky Bear?
yeah. And
Ooh,
Woodsy Owl, give a hoot, don't pollute.
I
So I
love
was
that.
setting up, yeah, I was monitoring the use and illegal uses and having to send out
Oh.
cease and desist letters and then explain intellectual property. And then
Mhm.
um, during that, we're negotiating for a couple movies.
Oh.
So again, how that's where you start seeing in what media is it protected against and in what media will you be receiving royalties from.
So they're not always the same.
Well, what happens is, so if someone signed a deal 10 years ago,
Hmm.
and maybe 10, I'll say 10,
Okay.
just as a number.
Hmm.
Someone signed a deal 10 years ago and Netflix wasn't around. And now the show is being shown on Netflix
Hmm.
and making millions and millions in revenue.
Hmm.
If that wasn't in the licensing agreement, the licensor would not receive revenue on Netflix because it would have been written more narrowly or what was around then radio, television,
Nothing about
print.
streaming.
Yeah. All these
Oh.
streaming services. And that's another big deal on this whole strike
Yeah.
because there are so many streaming services now.
Yeah. And it's
Um,
hard to pinpoint who's where.
well, that's why you have to have the broad language of electronic media streaming.
Huh?
There's a terminology for it. I'm not a lawyer, but you you have to capture everything today and future media
Yeah.
because we don't know what the next media outlet is either. And if something's going to be around for a generation or around for however long,
Hmm.
because everything old is new again,
Yeah.
right? So we're going to play the same thing 25, 30 years later for the next generation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you have to protect yourself.
is it true? What's the term called? I was reading this article and they were asking basically why do it was something like, do you know why Disney characters change a little bit every time they put out a different Mickey Mouse? And the answer was Walt Disney or the Disney company in general, they their work never falls into public domain because they have
Yes.
lobbyists to say, "Hey, this isn't just Mickey; he's been revamped." So it's we got to keep that out of public domain because we're still using it and we've revamped it. And it was something like they've kept a lot of their intellectual property out of public domain for that reason. Like you'll never see Mickey come up in public domain and be able to say, "Okay, I'm using Mickey and this is how I'm going to use him now." Like now, is it well? this might be another show. Get a lawyer in here, because I really think legality and things like that is, it's very interesting, because when you know the rules of the land, you know how to move, basically. And a lot of us are kind of like, well, I don't think I can do that, or oh, I didn't know I could do that. So we're really limited in some of the things and opportunities we can have. Like, I think small businesses who license their own image and likeness are ahead of the game, because no matter what, there's a value that's assigned to it and you own it. Because I don't know if you've been through this yet, but with different small business organizations and different events that they have, you say something on camera or they take a picture and they're rushing over with the release form. I've always wanted to be like, excuse me, hold on. It's about, there's a rate exchange here. I'm not just going to sign a release, because in a sense you're releasing your ability to say, yeah, I was photoed here with this event during this time and I was compensated for it because they needed that picture for whatever reason. Like, I feel like every exchange with a small business should be growing our foundation.
Right. And again, these days there's so many people with malintent out there that you don't know who's going to get their hands on that. And now that there's a release on it.
You released it. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no revisiting it. This like waivers. I was on TikTok and somebody was like, oh, this go-kart park is really good because they make you sign a waiver. And I said, no, that's not how waivers work. Waivers protect the person giving it to you. And she was like, what? I said, yeah, it's not about safety. It's if you do die, don't sue me about it.
If you die in our go-kart on our property, we had nothing to do with it.
And you signed a release because you knew it was dangerous and you're taking your safety in your own hands. And that's what's really interesting about law is its protections, not necessarily right and wrong. Like, my land is protected with my contracts and my ability to enforce them, essentially. But
right.
I don't know.
We'll get to that because we have good stories on that one.
Yeah, we're gonna get a lawyer on here because I would love to. I'm pretty sure we got to do some sort of retainage or something because we're gonna pick their brain. It's gonna be great. So stay tuned for the next episode of Big Thoughts Small Business Podcast. And for that, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Really great seeing you again today, Libby.
Okay, Aisha, nice talking to you. Have a good day.
Thank you. And for everybody listening, we want to say thank you and check out the links in the description for some of the ideas and thoughts that we shared. We also mentioned Groove, which is a really great platform for small businesses. There's a free tier and there's a paid tier, but they have essentially everything you're looking for: funnels, websites, marketing, emails, SEO, the list goes on. And they also have an academy where you can learn how to use Groove Suite. So they're really robust. Libby, how have you been enjoying Groove so far?
So far, so good. I have to dig deeper. I want to take a couple days and just spend the time learning it.
Exactly.
So I'm handpicking it right now. I'm taking a little piece here, a little piece there.
That's how you do it.
So far, so great.
Great. All right, everybody. Well, we want to say thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in again. And stay tuned. We'll be back. Maybe not next episode with the lawyer, but that is coming up. We're going to have small business professionals so we can talk a little bit more in depth about some of these topics and, again, help you, understand different areas and routes that you can take with your small business. But that's going to be it for today. I want to say thank you again to Libby and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
All right. 58 minutes.